Good afternoon and welcome to NYFP. This afternoon I'm joined by Todd Schoenberger of LandColt Trading. Hi Todd, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're here on this Thursday afternoon and all eyes are on the jobs report coming out tomorrow morning for the month of June. And we did get the ADP jobs report as well as the weekly jobless claims. But given that you also mentioned beforehand the Challenger Gray and Christmas report, what do you think of the overall job market here in the U.S.?
Well, I think it's horrible right now, and it's great that we had a few surprises today. But if you look at the preceding 4 weeks, we looked at revisions that were higher. We were north of 420,000 on the jobless claims number, and that ADP number, which is great that we actually were higher than expectations, obviously. But it's not a complete picture of the entire labor market because it only represents 40% of all private payrolls out there. So realistically, tomorrow I'm not going to be very optimistic. I'm actually projecting that we'll have a number south of 50,000 net new jobs, which is fine. But I also think we're going to have a pop-up in that unemployment rate because, like you said, for the Challenger report, we actually saw a bump up in state and local layoffs on the government side. I can only suspect that that's going to continue. And obviously with college graduates, of course, it'll be seasonally adjusted, but we should be a little bit higher than the 9.1% print that we had last month.
Well, Todd, now that I've gotten your take regarding the employment situation, I do want to move on over to the June retail same-store sales that we got earlier this morning. Now, crude oil futures are inching back again, nearing the $100 a barrel level. So how do you think that's going to affect the consumer going forward?
Well, I think when you have to look at retailers, you really have to dissect it in two different categories. You have your wealthy side, and then you have your other side, maybe with the Walmarts, the Targets. If you look at Walmart, their CEO has publicly said that, look, we make most of our sales after 12 o'clock when those welfare checks are actually activated. So you have more people buying the staples that you need to get by. But then on the higher end retail side, things are looking great. I mean, Tiffany is another one. You have a number, Ann Taylor is a good one. So you have a couple of those retailers, and that's great for that side. Overall, though, the entire condition of the overall U.S. economy is very poor, and I'll tell you why. If you go back to 1948, all you need to do is look at the rolling real GDP rate. Anytime we dip below 2%, we always land it back into a recession 2 to 3 quarters later. Right now, we're at 2.3%. If you suspect that, as everybody else here on the floor does, that this summer is going to be a dramatic slowdown, especially in Q3, we have to only suspect that if history is a barometer that's going to prove this, that we'll be back into a recession by the first quarter of next year. That's not good for the president, it's not good for the United States, and it's clearly not good for the global economy.
Well, Todd, now that we've covered jobs and retailers, I do want to look ahead to the upcoming trading week in which we'll be getting earnings report for the latest quarter. But what's your expectations and what sectors are you paying close attention to?
Well, when you look at the upcoming earnings season, you have to only guess that things are going to be better than expected. And I'll tell you why. With historical averages, you have 62% of S&P 500 companies usually meet or beat their Wall Street estimates. Last earnings season, we had 80% of those companies that beat. I'm going to think that companies are still going to beat those bottom line numbers only because it's at the expense of human capital. You have margins that continue to get thin. However, those companies are not going out and hiring. They're not committing any of their cash that they have. So we're going to have a decent earnings season. Now, the projections that you hear from these companies that's what's going to really influence the markets moving forward and probably for the rest of the summer. So when Alcoa comes out with that number on Monday, yeah, we have to hope that they're going to have good forward guidance. But I'm not so optimistic about that, but we'll see.
Okay, Todd, as always, thank you so much for your time and thanks for giving us your expectations.
All right, thank you, Remy. Take care.